This video we're going to look at the Sooners running their GT counter out of 21, 12 personnel sets, and a few different ways that they get into those personnel groupings and use those tight ends to create extra gaps. Right here is one of their favorite ways to do it. They've ran it this way for years. They've got their tight end, they've got their wing over here, they've got their two receivers away from it. Everybody's basically got their inside gap to backside linebacker with a kick and a lead. And typically what they've done is they've got on a corner and they've got on safety, and every time they kind of clean this up and are able to wash this side down, it's a really big play with a lot of guys that are not used to setting the edges, being corners, safeties, and guys that are just not typically great at setting the edge and condensing things, having to do that job. So we'll take a look at a few clips of it. Here's one of the best clips from the year, and it starts off against Texas. Obviously, the center is going to go first down on the backside, so that means the quarterback's going to have to read the C gap right here, and of course everybody's got their inside gap to linebacker. And of course, if somebody comes into their gap, they're just going to take them. I believe they end up blocking down on that backer who's filling that gap pretty hard. So as you can see it, he's filling that gap pretty hard. The wing just go ahead and takes him. Here's the kick coming for the corner, and then the lead going up for the safety. And you can see, again, this corner, he's not really used to taking people on, especially a guard. So he's not real comfortable with that. Ends up getting kicked easily. And then right here, you've got your backside tackle trying to fill in there. 2-on-1 obviously right there with the running back, but then he ends up just bouncing and taking it outside and getting into the end zone. But one of the best looks all year that they had with the GT out of this set, and you can just watch those guys up front. Again, they're just getting to that inside gap, trying to get movement right there. They don't get up to the backside linebacker. You can see they end up flattening out this guard and this tackle. So right there, he's getting a piece of that tackle, so he's not able to get up to that linebacker, but they flatten him out, and that's how they have a 2-on-1 right there, that linebacker that floated over the top, and then the safety that's also an alley. But they don't fit that up very well. He should attack that inside shoulder so he can attack outside. They can work that, so they've got good angles to somebody inside, somebody outside right there, and be able to get him on the ground. But instead, bounces it outside and gets to the end zone for a touchdown on an easy counter play where they're kicking a corner. Seems like this play and this formation is always an issue for Texas Tech, and it was again this past year. You can see again working all the way back to 4-4-I technique there with the center inside gap to backer, and you can see that window and everybody watching down. He gets up to the backside linebacker. That wing gets all the way to the front side. He's coming to kick the corner, which is not a great matchup for Texas Tech. And right there, obviously, he's a little timid trying to take on a 300-pound guy, which I get. He's physically beat by probably 150 pounds. So getting a kick right there. There's a tackle leading up for whatever shows up, which is safety. Gets a piece of him. Now the running back's rolling in space. But it just seems like historically, Texas Tech has really struggled trying to stop this. Here's a look at this tight end wing set. And they end up catching Iowa State punt over the game, getting a slant there. So again, still going to just trust your track and let these guys get around. Seal that inside. Let these guys clean everything else up. That's what they end up doing. So right there you can see the end going there. There's a linebacker stepping down. They're just trusting their gap, just moving them. Right here coming to kick, and they're going to lead right there for that second level. So right there, pretty easy kick. Getting vertical with the running back right there behind the tackle. If you pause it right there, you think, man, it's going to be a really good play, and it's not too bad. There's a tackle getting all the way up to that corner for a pretty decent gain, 5-6 yards with this. But you can see any movement right there, just trusting their gaps, and then those pullers get out and take whatever and clean up whatever shows up with the second level. That's what they end up doing right there and getting a pretty good run against Iowa State. Here's another look here from Oklahoma running against Iowa State. And as you can see right here, a little bit stronger in the box right there by Iowa State. And also you can see the guy that they're going to kick right here, this D end, does a pretty good job. He comes in there and he cuts, and he ends up taking two guys out right there. So a defender taking 2 for 1, taking the backside guard and the backside tackle. Cuts and rolls, takes two guys, and they've got a couple free hitters, but they still are not able to get them down before a gain of about 4 or 5 yards. So right there you can see, even though they squeeze right there, they know the pullers are coming. I really want to take on this guy. I'm going to cut him. Takes 2 for 1. Now you got free hitters. But again, Oklahoma's able to get 4 or 5 on it, just based off of people having flow over the top of different things and not great momentum and not great angles to take on a ball carrier. Like this play right here, you got your two receivers, you got a tight end, and you got your two backs in the backfield. They do it just the same rules as they do whenever they're in that 20 personnel set. He's going to block the alley. Everybody's down blocking, pulling the kick, pulling the lead right there. So we'll play it. You can see again, running back turns his shoulders to go flat. He's going to kick the alley. Right there, he gets him to go outside, puts his outside shoulder on it, play side shoulder on it, gets him outside. They end up pulling for the corner and then the safety, but they end up just double teaming that corner. But you can see what takes place again, just getting a good wash here by the line, moving everybody as far as they can. The lead back ends up taking the end, so everybody's playing off of that. They go up for that safety. Now they're rolling right there with a vertical run right in behind those things. Whenever you get an outside backer that's setting the edge, you're gonna be able to get vertical just like the running back does right here for a pretty good game. This look right here, Oklahoma's actually got split receivers, one on each side, tight end wing, and they end up, instead of down blocking and getting everybody into their inside gap, they end up basing out there with the fullback. So just the GT base here, and these guys pulling for these linebackers and safeties. And right here we'll play it. You can see you got a 7 tech right there on the inside. Tight end blocks down. He's just inside gap, gonna work that backside, down, pull. He's kicking right there, so he's not gonna allow him to condense everything. Kick that and make sure he stays wide. And then you've got 2 guys pulling into the gap right there, and gets up to the backer right there. Doesn't quite get to the correct shoulder, so you got a free hitter. But those guys are able to get outside. You can see those pullers. They understand that it's a little bit wider. He's based that in, so his eyes are on these backers as opposed to trying to kick. And now they're rolling right there. Guard ended up pulling for that linebacker, and then that tackle ended up pulling for that safety and getting a kick right there. And they're able to get a pretty decent gain right there off of that, just basing that outside linebacker so he can't squeeze down and condense that alley. I have this play on here basically because I really like what happens right here on this defensive end who's responsible for the C gap, and they end up placing him into the B gap. So right there he's fighting for the C gap. The tight end just throws him in front of that tackle, so then he can put him into that B gap, and then he can work up to that linebacker, getting all that pinned right there. So then they're coming to kick that outside backer, pulling, leading up. I just thought that was really interesting. Look at it one more time again. He's a C gap defender. They just basically bully that dude into the B gap, and then he goes right up to that linebacker right there. So pretty interesting combo there for Oklahoma on that C gap defender, and able to move him, put him into the gap they didn't want to be in. Here's a look of Oklahoma run their GT out of an A set, so they've got tight end on each side of the line. Probably checking this to a certain technique. Like right here, looks like they got a 3 tech over here front side. Might be one to check it there, so it's an easier block there for the center. Right here, they're going to end up doubling to there, pulling a kick, pulling the lead, and he's going to end up blocking that C gap, so they don't have to end up reading that guy with the quarterback. So as you can see, pretty easy release there for this tight end. There's nobody in that gap. You got a 3 tech. That tackle should be able to take him. He's going to work down right there. You got a 9 technique right there. Obviously has to keep outside containment, so he's going to have to pin everything inside. So right there trying to kick him, leading right there for that linebacker who's filled that alley pretty hard, and then they end up gashing that directly vertical behind all that. So pretty interesting look there with the A set. Probably trying to check that 3 technique, so then you know you're going to get that kick. With that 19 technique, you also know you're going to get a free release to that middle linebacker, backside linebacker, like they do right there with that tight end. Get a nice easy seal, a couple kicks, and now they're getting vertical for an explosive play against Texas. Here's another look of Oklahoma in this A set, running against 3-3 stack. So then get a double there again, putting that guy into the B gap to make sure that that backer can get him, working up right there to that inside backer. They're ending up gapping right there, pulling, kicking. He's going to try to cut that out so they don't have to read the backside C gap. And as you can see, Iowa State does a pretty good job. They're getting lots of penetration here, which obviously is not great for the GT or any run, but ends up knocking off the backside tackle. There's so much penetration, he gets caught up in all that trash and is not able to get around. There's the kick. There's the alley that you want to try to cut, but they couldn't get there. It's a pretty abrupt cut right there for the running back, and then Iowa State rallies to it. Still getting 2 or 3 yards, and it's not a negative play, but right there you can see what killed it was all that penetration, knocking off pullers, taking 2 for 1 right there. Like anytime that you, as a defender, you can take 2 blockers with 1 guy, it's going to create free hitters, and that's what Iowa State does there, and obviously playing hard and round to the football.